Today you will be learning about the Iroquois, one of the 5 Native American tribes in our 6th grade unit. By the end of this lesson, you will be able to respond to the following questions. 1. Who were the Iroquois people? 2. In what present-day states and region did the Iroquois live? 3. How did the physical geography or nature influence the resources used by the Iroquois? The Iroquois were a league or confederacy of tribes. A confederacy is a loose alliance of friendship between one group. Originally, the Iroquois were formed by 5 tribes. The tribes were the Mohawk, the Oneida, the Onondaga, the Cayuga, and the Seneca. Later, the Tuscarora joined. United, these tribes formed the Iroquois nation. Interestingly, when the French arrived and settled in North America, they gave the Iroquois their name. The original homeland of the Iroquois was upstate New York, but they later gained control of the northeastern United States and eastern Canada. Because this region is heavily forested, it is called the Eastern Woodlands. We also know this as the Appalachian Mountain region. This geographic region is known for its forests, rivers, and flatland for farming. The climate of the area includes the 4 seasons, where the Iroquois experienced hot summers, cold winters, and a mild spring and fall. Now that you know something about the environment in which the Iroquois lived, let's start making inferences or predictions about the resources available to the Iroquois. Take a minute and look at this image. Think about the answers to these questions. What type of source of information is this? In this image, what stands out to you? Do you see examples of human, natural, and capital resources? Please pause the video and turn to a partner to share your thoughts and responses to these questions. The Iroquois were hunters and gatherers, farmers, and fishermen. The Iroquois men were in charge of the hunting. They hunted wild game including deer, rabbit, elk, wild turkey, bear, and beaver. The hunters used various tools for hunting, such as bows and arrows and flint knives for skinning animals. Some meat was eaten fresh and some was dried and stored for later. Hunting animals was not only important for meat, but for other animal parts as well. For example, the Iroquois used the skin for making clothing and blankets, the bones for tools, and the tendons for sewing. Living so close to the St. Lawrence River and the Atlantic Ocean was another advantage for the Iroquois. The Iroquois relied heavily on fishing as a constant food source. They used spears and fishing poles to catch a variety of fish, including salmon, trout, and bass. The Iroquois built elm bark or dugout canoes for their fishing trips and as a mode of transportation for maritime travel and trade. The Iroquois women were in charge of the farming and the meals. They grew crops such as corn, beans, and squash, better known as the 3 Sisters. The women also gathered berries and roots, greens, bark, sunflower, nuts, and herbs for both cooking and medicine. In early spring, the women tapped the sap from maple trees to make maple syrup. Iroquois meals consisted of cornbread, soups, and stews. As long as there was food, nobody in the village went hungry as food was freely shared. Because there were many trees in the region, the Iroquois used lumber to build their homes. The Iroquois lived in longhouses. Longhouses were long rectangular buildings made with wood frames and covered with bark. A typical longhouse was 80 to 100 feet in length, so try to picture 2 school buses parked end to end. Longhouses had very high ceilings and no windows. Animal skin doors kept the houses cozy and dry, and holes in the roof were created to release smoke from fires used for cooking and heating. Many families would live in a single longhouse. In fact, up to 60 people could live in one single house. Each family would have its own compartment that could be separated for privacy by using partitions made of tree bark or animal skin. Longhouses were part of a larger village. A village would have several longhouses, which was often surrounded by a fence called a palisade. Outside of the palisade were the fields where the Iroquois farmed their crops. Although the French gave the tribe the name Iroquois, many people of this tribe referred to themselves as the Haudenosaunee, which means the people of the Longhouse. Take a minute and reflect upon what you've learned so far. Turning to a partner, share 3 facts you've learned about the Iroquois. Please pause the video. To conclude our lesson, let's briefly learn about the Iroquois culture. The Iroquois were a very spiritual people. They believed that all things, living and non-living, had a spirit. The tribe was known for their mask carvings. Although carved masks were commonly used among Native Americans for several reasons, the Iroquois strictly used their masks for religious purposes. Perhaps one of the best-known Iroquois art forms is wampum. Using special shell beads made from a rare clamshell, the Iroquois crafted wampum. Wampum beads were traded as a kind of currency or money, but they were important culturally. Wampum designs and symbols often told a story or represented a person's family. Do any of you viewers play lacrosse? The game of lacrosse was created by the Iroquois, and at that time the purpose of the game was to improve their fighting skills. Entire villages played against one another, and games were often played on fields that stretched for miles. A single game could last for days. The Iroquois were skilled woodworkers and were able to make their lacrosse sticks by carving and steaming wood. As for clothing and fashion, the Iroquois made clothing of tanned deerskin. Both the men and the women wore deerskin clothing and soft moccasin shoes made of leather. Men of the Iroquois often shaved their heads except for a strip of hair down the middle. Today, we often refer to this haircut as a mohawk. Iroquois men also decorated their faces and bodies with tribal tattoos. Girls would wear their hair in 2 braids until they got married, and then they would have a single braid. Iroquois women only cut their hair when they were in mourning. The Iroquois had a type of representative government. Each tribe within the Iroquois Confederacy had its own elected leader called a chief. The chiefs were elected by the clan mothers, or the older women of the tribe. Chiefs had 2 jobs. One job was to lead a tribal council at home. This council made decisions about local tribal issues. The chiefs also participated in meeting with the chiefs of the other Iroquois tribes. The chiefs of each tribe would attend the Iroquois Great Council, where major decisions were made for the 6 tribes within the Iroquois Confederacy. This is similar to how American democracy works. Each state has its own state government, yet is subject to the greater national United States government. In fact, the Iroquois Confederacy was one of the examples of democracy used by our American forefathers while they were designing our United States government. I hope that you have enjoyed learning about the Iroquois. You will be asked to demonstrate your learning by work provided to you by your teacher. While the work is being distributed, please turn to a partner and discuss the answers presented to you at the beginning of today's lesson. Have a great day, and thank you for listening.